Noise Radio. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Sit back down and shut your trap. It's time for
Keeping It Sports with M3, right here on All Noise Radio.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Well, I'll need some beer.
Are you ready?
You have to ask me nicely.
Come on now, don't be bashful.
Are you ready? Are you ready for
Best sports talk and news surrounding each league.
I can prove it with my usual flawless logic.
Hey man, this time we're gonna do it my way.
What's your name again?
And now, here's your host, M3, Mike Rosansky. Coming to you from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. It's time for Keeping It Sports with M3, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everything's going well for you here on this Monday, the 28th day of October, last Monday of the month, last week of the month, and that means it's time for what for most kids out there is their favorite holiday. I mean, outside of Christmas, Halloween. Halloween coming up on Thursday, so I hope you all enjoy your tricks or your treats coming up on that day. And right now here in the local area, when it comes to sports, it almost feels like this is one big trick that is being played on us, because we're not getting many treats. We're not getting many things to be happy about. I mean, you want to take the basketball. We're one weekend, so I'm not going to freak out about either of the NBA teams on the Nets or the Knicks. Wasn't happy about the Nets losing on a buzzer beater shot last night while I'm eating dinner, but 1 week. I'll give some more thoughts on both of them a little bit later on. Met fans, they got things to complain about, especially when it comes to the managerial search. And oh boy, can't wait to have some fun on that one a little bit later on. You got the Yankees, who their season ended earlier than anybody really wanted it to end. And I said from the beginning, they better go to the World Series. Give me something to talk about over the next month. Give me something to talk about through at least the end of this month, because you damn sure know one thing. You're not going to get much hockey talk on this podcast, no matter how well the Islanders are playing right now. They've won 7 games in a row. Not going to hear me sitting here breaking down Henrik Lundqvist freaking out on the officials yesterday, and he probably had the right to do so. And the Devils are kind of the redhead stepchild of the local area, even as much of a fan as I may be of them. So there's not much to be excited about, especially when we're in a time 8 weeks into the football season, and you look at both our teams, the two teams that share MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and you look at them and you say, their seasons are over. You look at them and you say, these two teams both suck. Now, the one thing that they have in common other than that is the fact that they both have head coaches that the fan bases don't like, and they both have young quarterbacks. In the case of the Giants, while they're losing, they're 2-6. This year was never supposed to be about winning. This year was supposed to be about developing the young quarterback. And while yeah, you're unhappy about the loss yesterday, losing to the Lions in Detroit. The defense for the Giants was god-awful. I mean, let's face it. If not for some inaccuracy by Matthew Stafford at times, Giants could have easily lost this game by 2 touchdowns. It's a wonder that they were still close in this game near the end, especially when you consider all the things that went wrong for them early on, whether it be the fumble by Jones that Kennard picked up and returned for a score, whether it be the 49-yard touchdown, by Marvin Hall at the end of the first quarter. You're already down by 2 touchdowns. You're thinking, oh, it's going to be a long day with the way this defense is playing. But, hey, you're seeing bright spot. The one bright spot here, Daniel Jones can play. Daniel Jones brought this team back within a blink of an eye. I mean, you're looking at already a tie game. Problem is, he doesn't have a defense to back him up. He doesn't have a defense that can shut even an average offense down. And you knew coming into this game, you look at the Lions record, and you see them at 2-3-1, and you're like, that's not a bad football team. They've just been unlucky. They've had the ball bounced the wrong way a couple times, some poor officiating like 2 weeks ago against the Packers. They're not an easy win, and with the way the Giants have been the last couple of years, they don't have the right to look down their nose at anybody. But you knew you were going to be in for a difficult battle. That's why I can't blame Pat Shurmur for wanting to go for a 2-point conversion at the end of the third quarter, especially when Rosas had missed a extra point and had missed an extra point earlier. You knew you were going to have to get those points back somewhere. You knew you were going to have to make up for it somewhere along the line. So I really can't blame the aggressiveness on that. Now, if he makes it, it could turn out to be a different game at the end, just due to the fact that the Giants lost by 3. They get, if the onside kick stays in bounds, they get another shot. But while you're disappointed at the loss, you always want to see your team win. The positive coming out of it is how great this quarterback looked yesterday. How poised Daniel Jones looked. The fact that he's not making the same mistakes twice, and played well in what was his first time playing in a dome. And now you add to the positives there, that the fact that he seems to have built a good rapport with this kid Slayton as one of his main targets. He's had Golden Tate there as his lifesaver, as his go-to guy. So he's had these weapons that he's been able to build a good rapport with. And as much as the head coach makes you want to pull your hair out after the game, he's doing his job, and his job is to develop this young quarterback. At least he can take that and take that home and be proud of that. Unlike their co-tenant at MetLife Stadium, unlike the team that I'm telling you, every time I watch the New York Jets, they take years off of my life. I think back to 1996. 1996, I'm in the second grade, and I'm thinking back to that, and I'm like, what the hell was wrong with me? Why did I become a fan of this team? And I feel like this is almost like a replay. This is almost like a re-airing of previous editions of Keeping It Sports with M3, because I feel like I'm saying the same damn thing each and every week when it comes to the New York Jets. The same damn thing. It's wash, rinse, repeat over and over again as I watched them lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday down in Jacksonville. The only thing that could have made yesterday worse for me is if I was at the game. And a good number of my friends were at the game. That was the yearly road game that a large portion of my friends go to. I elected not to go to it this year based on the fact that I had, no interest in going to Jacksonville, Florida. I mean, outside of the football team, what is there really to do there? I'm not, the biggest beach guy in the world. And 2, with how disgusted this team has made me, how awful they have been. As a season ticket holder, I said, I'm not going to invest any more money into this team this year. Not when you have a head coach who likes to deflect blame after every game, doesn't use his running back, that it's blatantly clear that he did not want this guy as his running back. I mean, why else would Le'Veon Bell only be getting 12 touches yesterday on a day when your quarterback is clearly struggling? But one of his main reasons that he was brought here is because, and I hate repeating this phrase over and over, but he's a quarterback whisperer. He was brought here to develop Sam Darnold. He was looked at by this organization as, he can do for Sam Darnold what Sean McVay has done for Jared Goff. What you've seen so many of these other offensive masterminds around the league do for a young quarterback. And he's done anything but that. He's led to not progress in Sam Darnold's development, but regression. Now, a lot of it does go on Sam Darnold. He's got to go out there and make the plays for himself. He's got to make the decisions for himself when he's out there. He can't have someone standing there holding his hand, saying, do this, Sammy, do that, Sammy. No, he's got to be the one that goes out there and makes the right decisions, makes the right accurate throws. But what we've seen the last 2 weeks, after there was such positivity coming out of the game against the Dallas Cowboys, after there was such a good vibe, like, wow, Sam Darnold missed a month of game action due to mono. He comes back looking like he didn't miss a beat, comes back looking like the guy that we were all excited about after the last month of the season last season. And the last 2 games, he's regressed greatly. Now, part of that is due to the fact he's going up against the New England Patriots defense that is the best defense in the league. A New England Patriots defense that this year has now forced 19 turnovers and has only allowed 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns through 8 games this season. And they were throwing at him a defensive style that he has not been used to, throwing at him cover 0 for most of the night. Now, there were times that he was getting a lot of blitzes in his direction, and it led to the whole "I'm seeing ghosts" comment, which, I'm not mad at the fact that he was mic'd up because everybody's got to do it once a year. I'm mad at the fact that ESPN did not need to air that. But the Jets have been ESPN's punching bag over the years. They knew that was going to embarrass him. They knew that everyone was going to use that against him. And you saw that yesterday with the Jaguars. I'm looking on Twitter and I'm seeing pregame the Jaguars mascot, whatever they're calling that stupid thing, walking around the field with a sheet over its head looking like a ghost. I'm seeing a plane flying over the building with a banner that said Gardner Minshew ain't afraid of no ghosts. And, Darnold he made a ton of mistakes yesterday. Threw 3 interceptions. The 2 by Hayden were mental errors, especially when he eludes a sack on the first one. He's got to just throw the ball away. He had no one open there. He tried to force it in the window there to Robbie Anderson. Same applied with the second one late in the game. And the second one was a true killer because they were down by 1 touchdown at the time. In a game that felt like they were down by 21 points, they were within 1 score. The middle one he threw to A.J. Boye, I consider more of a physical error because he was trying to take a shot there. The Jets had nothing really working. He wanted to get down the field, see if he could make a play out of nothing, and overthrew Thomas on the play right into Boye's hands. That kind of interception, I'm not going to get too mad, too crazy about. The physical mistakes, one thing. The mental mistakes, that's the problem. That is my bigger issue here, and it's showing a sign of regression. Those are rookie mistakes he's making there. In your second year, you should be able to learn from that. You should be better than that, and able to throw the football away. But, you can't place, while most of the blame goes to him as far as on the field, off the field, more of the blame goes on Adam Gase. On the field, he's not getting any help. This offensive line is the worst offensive line I've ever seen the Jets put together. We are far from the days of DeBrickashaw Ferguson, Alan Faneca, Nick Mangold, Damian Woody, and Brandon Moore. The best offensive line I've seen this Jet team have in my lifetime. An offensive line that helped lead the Jets to back-to-back AFC title games, even when they had a young quarterback whose career, after most of them left, started to fizzle out. This offensive line, it wasn't like they were facing what they had against New England last week, where you have a cover 0, they're blitzing, you got 7 guys coming after them. No, they rushed 4 guys. The Jacksonville Jaguars rushed 4 guys all day. And it felt like it got to the point at one point where the Jaguars were deciding, all right, they got this young rookie got at left tackle that is inexperienced, hasn't played a lot here. Let's take advantage of him. Let's take our shots at this kid and see if we can rattle him going up against Gaga, or however you pronounce him, Ed Dugaga. I'm bad with pronouncing those kind of names, excuse me. But they're going up against this kid, and it seemed like at one point the Jaguars were getting in arguments on the sideline, decided, all right, I want to face the left tackle this time. I want to go up against him. It's my turn to take advantage of him. Whether it was Ngwakwe, excuse me, I was pronouncing how to pronounce that name on the way here. Whether it was Allen, whether it was Calais Campbell, every single one of them got their crack and made life miserable for Sam Darnold. And that's another thing as a Jet fan watching that made me more miserable. You think back to the NFL draft this past year. Who did I say plenty of times was my number one guy that I wanted the Jets to take? Who was the guy? Who was the one that I said, all right, I'd be okay with this player, I'd be okay with that player, but my personal number one preference is this one guy? Yeah, that's right. That would be Josh Allen of your Jacksonville Jaguars, who the Jets passed up on with the number 2 overall pick, and he fell all the way to 8. And now the Jaguars look like they have a stud on their hands for the next decade. They look like they've found the next Khalil Mack. They look like they've found their next great pass rusher, their next one of the likes of the Bosa brothers. A kid that has seemingly been unstoppable, unfazable so far in his rookie year as an edge pass rusher, something the Jets have desperately needed for years. Meanwhile, they take Quinnen Williams, who has missed time due to injury, but when he's been on the field has been as close to a bust so far as Leonard Williams has been. So only the Jets would be the team that can take two Alabama defensive players in the first round, going back, Dean Milliner about 6 years ago, and now Quinnen Williams this year. The Jets are the only team that could find two busts from Alabama as defensive players in the first round. And it just has me pulling my hair out, has me just so utterly pissed off all the way up and down this organization. And I place the blame not just on Adam Gase, but on the owner, Christopher Johnson, who I didn't think it would be possible to be worse than Woody Johnson. Woody and his idiocy okaying a trade for Tim Tebow, firing Mike Tannenbaum, bringing in a new general manager to go with Rex Ryan, then firing the two of them and hiring a search firm for your next head coach and general manager. Well, Christopher Johnson's been worse because 2 years ago he gave a contract extension to both Bowles and McCagnon. Bowles gets fired last year. McCagnon they fire after going through free agency and the draft. And he's given control to this maroon, this moron, this idiot in Adam Gase, who wore out his welcome after 3 years in Miami, got progressively worse in his last 2 years. And his last 2 years there, he went 13-19 and traded away good players such as Jarvis Landry and Jay Ajayi, just because that they weren't his type of guy, just because he wanted his own players in there that he felt he could build around. And you fire your general manager after a draft because Adam Gase wins a power struggle, all because he was great at making coffee for Peyton Manning. I mean, it's ridiculous. All the way up and down. And his lack of coaching has led to the progressive regression of this quarterback. A quarterback who, as you know, I've been very high on since his days at USC. And it's only going to get worse from here. Because unless, say, this organization really gets embarrassed, and what I mean by really getting embarrassed, I mean losing this Sunday to a winless Miami Dolphins team in Miami, where you got this idiot from. Then in 2 weeks, losing your home game at MetLife Stadium against the Giants, when you know about, 55% of that building is probably going to be Giant fans. And to add to the embarrassment, while I agree with the move that they made this morning, trading Leonard Williams to the Giants, first time these two teams have agreed to a trade between the two. I like what the Jets got back. Actually, surprised that they got a third-round draft pick for Leonard Williams when, as good a guy as he is, he's been a bust. What will add to that embarrassment is if the Giants can unlock Leonard Williams and he has a field day against the Jets in 2 weeks. Can't you see it right now that he's going to have 2 sacks and fumble recovery against the Jets? And it's just, as I said before, it feels like wash, rinse, repeat when it comes to the Jets. I feel like I'm banging my head up against the wall saying the same thing, but nothing ever changes. There's no adjustments. There's no changes being made here. You see your quarterback struggling, give the ball to the running back a little bit. Early on, you looked like you had Bell in the mix, and after the second quarter, you completely forgot about running the ball at all. And I can't see this changing anytime soon. I mean, and what makes things worse is you got shills in the media like Manish Mehta, who called this a home run hire at the time. Now he's doing all his backtracking on Twitter. You got Boomer Esiason on his radio show saying that, Adam Gase isn't the problem here. It's the players that are the problem. And then the company shills like Greg Buttle, not willing to blame anybody on the Jets postgame show on the radio, that keep backing this guy, that keep enforcing and trying to act like, this is the guy. This is the guy that's going to make Sam Darnold great. Well, obviously, he's not making him great when the kid has regressed and thrown 7 interceptions in the last 2 weeks. And to make things even worse, tomorrow's the trade deadline. Tomorrow is the NFL trade deadline, and it feels like Adam Gase has more power with this team than does General Manager Joe Douglas, especially because Joe Douglas got the job based off their previous relationship. I mean, I can't even fathom to imagine the kind of things that Adam Gase could potentially do to this team between now and tomorrow at 4 o'clock p.m. East Coast time. All right, I'm going to try and compose myself here, take a break. I got plenty of other things to talk about through the next 45 minutes or so here, so we'll get to that. World Series we'll talk about, Mets managerial search, mixing some NBA thoughts, as well as, recap some things that went on here throughout the rest of Week 8 in the National Football League. So, as I tell you guys each and every week at this time, if you feel like calling in, you have anything on your mind, if you're watching live, be sure to do so at the number 856-330-4749. Other than that, just sit back, relax, and continue keeping it sports with M3.
I'll be back.
Our jobs occupy more than half our waking hours. Shouldn't we be doing something we love? Call Connecticut School of Broadcasting at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Since 1964, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami, has helped place thousands of grads as DJs, sportscasters, entertainment reporters, behind the scenes in audio and video production, every aspect of the broadcast media. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has trained men and women of all ages and backgrounds in a matter of months, not years. Learn by doing from area radio and TV pros. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. Day and evening classes begin soon. Get trained. Get connected now.
They say things can always be worse. They say, there's always a worse situation than you're in. And in sports, that theory can also apply. I mean, as many of you will know, I am amongst the minority that is a Jets fan and a Yankee fan. Typically in this area, it's if you're a Jet fan, you're a Mets fan. If you're a Giants fan, you're a Yankee fan. But sometimes you see a little bit of crossover here and there. You get a little bit of a change in that. And can you imagine being a Jets and Mets fan today? How you're feeling? I just went into a long rant on the Jets, and I hope some of that made sense. Whether they're embarrassing themselves on the field, off the field, like they did in this whole Kelechi Osemele situation where they weren't letting the guy have surgery and he went against their wishes to repair his torn labrum before game released by the team on Saturday. And I hope for his sake he gets all the money back, that he was fine. But then you got the situation with the Mets, how you're looking around the league, you're seeing left and right, teams with managerial openings are announcing new managers. The Cubs hired David Ross. The Padres hire somebody named Jace Tingler. And quite frankly, when I saw that, I'm like, whoa, hold on, time out here. This is a family programming here. Let's keep this clean. I thought that was some kind of porn star's name at first. I had to look it up, and I'm like, nope, it's a real person. That is not just some stage name, and he was serving some role in the Texas Rangers minor league. Don't know what he did that's impressed people to get this job, but must have done something. But to add to that, I've been keeping a close eye on, what are the Mets going to do when it comes to their managerial search? And name after name comes off the board. You see names that they're interviewing and whatnot. Not only do they not have a manager, but the number one guy that their fan base wanted, the number one person their fans wanted to fill that role, was hired by a division rival. Last Thursday morning, when it was announced that the Philadelphia Phillies will hire Joe Girardi as their new manager. Unbelievable. I mean, you almost can't make it up. Hold on. We got a call here. I'm going to see if this is worth answering. Hold on.
Camden Metro Police are looking for a missing and endangered female.
Say this is what I get for giving out the phone number. I get ridiculous automated messages that try to kill my momentum here. But the Mets, they don't hire the guy that the fan base wants, the guy who's the clear number one guy, a guy who, as a Yankee fan, I even thought they should have hired, because, as you know, I didn't want the Yankees to fire Joe Girardi to begin with. I thought he did a great job there for 10 years. Even in years where the team wasn't that good, he kept them afloat. He kept them above 500. He kept them within contention into the last week of the season as they're having these going away farewell tours from Mariano Rivera and Derek Jeter. So, now this guy has been a great manager. I cannot for the life of me believe the Mets did not want to hire him. But then when you sit back and you think about it, you realize it's obvious why they didn't want to hire him. A, he's probably going to make at least $3 million with the Phillies, and we know the Mets are extremely cheap. I mean, unless you're pulling their arm out, they don't pay anybody. The fan base had to beg for them to give David Wright a contract extension. That turned out to be a bad investment in the end, but at the time you thought it was a wise thing to keep him in a Mets uniform for the rest of his career. They face public and media scrutiny from people wanting them to re-sign Cespedes, and that has turned out bad these last 2 years. But then they gave the contract to Jacob deGrom only once his former agent became the general manager of the team. And that's another key in all this. Brodie Van Wagenen wants someone he can control. He wants his yes man. He wants his equivalent of Mickey Callaway. He wants his guy, who's a first-time guy, that he can control. He will still be the star of the operations, still be the guy calling the shots here. Because you bring in Girardi calls the shots. Girardi looks over at Van Wagenen and be like, what the hell have you done? I've won a World Series as a player and a manager. I have nothing but winning records in my career as a manager. What the hell have you done as a general manager other than make boneheaded trade after boneheaded trade so far in your tenure? So I feel for you, Met fans. I really do. I actually feel bad for the Met fans today because they're getting a raw deal. You had the best candidate available. And this feels like the Jets equivalent of what they did last year when they were looking for a head coach. Because Mike McCarthy was sitting out there and most of the fan base wanted him to be the guy. Jets decided, nah. Chris Johnson gets a phone call from Peyton Manning, gets a ringing endorsement for him, and it's like, I'll go hire this guy who is a retread from one of my division rivals. And the only thing that can make it worse for the Mets is if, with Girardi signing with the Phillies, if the Mets were to interview and hire former Phillies manager Gabe Kapler. That'd be the only thing worse. And, right now you look at these candidates, no one jumps off the page at you and gets you excited. Eduardo Perez, Tim Bogart, Carlos Beltran, former Met player, but I don't think he's going to get the job there. You got Luis Rojas, Derek Shelton, who I think he works in the Tigers organization. Just no one there that say, all right, that guy's got a winning pedigree as a manager. That guy can lead this team who showed promise last year over the hump and get them into the postseason. And then you see in all these reports, a mystery candidate, Pat Murphy, the bench coach of the Brewers, or, the bombshell candidate. Please, there's no bombshell candidate, all right? Unless they're bringing back, Bobby Valentine to manage this team, there is no bombshell candidate. It's just someone that they put out that word there, bombshell, to get everybody excited, thinking, they got someone big time here to do this. But in reality, it's just another corporate shell. Just unfreaking believable here with the Mets. As I said, the only thing that could, actually, there are two things that can make this worse. Not just Gabe Kapler being potentially interviewed for the role as Mets manager, but if later this week the Nationals come back and win the World Series. And I'm surprised that I'm sitting here on a Monday afternoon talking about them having to come back and win the World Series. Because after the first two games, I thought, all right, the Nationals got this. They win 2 games in Houston. They are able to overcome an early deficit in game 1 with 2-out homers by both Zimmerman and Soto. They were able to get to Garrett Cole, and their bullpen managed to hold on to a lead there even when it got crunch time late in the game. They beat down on Justin Verlander with a 6-run 7th inning in game 2 and are able to hit with runners in scoring position. But the second they get home, they can't hit with runners in scoring position. I mean, you look at this. This has been one of the weirdest series I've ever seen. We've seen situations where the road team has won every game of a series. You go back to the 96 World Series where the Braves won the first 2 in Yankee Stadium before the Yankees won the next 3 in Atlanta and got over the hurdle by beating Maddox in Game 6, getting the only home victory of that entire series. But I've never seen where not only does the road team win in every game, but the home team can't hit with runners in scoring position and is leaving so many men on base. And you look at this. Game 1, the Astros leave 11 runners on base. They leave 9 runners on base in Game 2 and are 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. Game 3, the Nationals go home. They can't get a hit with runners in scoring position and leave 12 guys on base. They go 1 for 9 in Game 4, leave another 9 guys on base, and then left 4 runners on base last night. I mean, you break this down. The Nationals on the road have been 7 for 21 with runners in scoring position. At home, they're 1 for 19. The Astros at home are 3 for 17 with runners in scoring position. They go to the Nationals ballpark. They're doing nothing but getting hits with runners in scoring position, going to 11 for 28, led by Gurriel and Altuve. They've been unbelievable, the turn of events that have happened in this series. Now, what I'm hoping for, and I'm not saying this just because I want the Nationals to win the series, because last thing I want to see is the Astros hoist that trophy up 2 years in a row, and there to be some kind of good karma come their way after firing their assistant general manager the other day, only after getting scrutinized and blasted till the end of the world by the media. But I want to see this go 7 games because of what happened last night. The fact that Max Scherzer, 2 hours before game time, got scratched because of neck soreness, neck stiffness, something like that. I want to see him get another chance. If this goes 7 and the Astros beat him, no problem with that. No problem at all with that. At least they beat the best. But it would annoy the hell out of me if they win this in 6 and they didn't have to face Scherzer for that second time, because the main reason they won last night is not just because of the Nationals were runners in scoring position, because they didn't have many opportunities to score last night with how great Garrett Cole was. But you're telling me that unlike Joe Ross, Max Scherzer wouldn't have been able to go pitch for pitch, inning for inning with Garrett Cole? Those are kind of the moments the big aces live for. So hopefully, Strasburg can, he battled in Game 2. Hopefully he's dominant in Game 6 tomorrow night and forces a Game 7 on Wednesday night. So Scherzer can come back and pitch for Game 7. So he can get one last crack to try and, change the rhetoric around him for his postseason career. Because his postseason career is not, as much of a dumpster fire as Clayton Kershaw's is, but he has been very spotty in the big moments. He's had his good moments this postseason, like he had against St. Louis, was average in Game 1 against the Astros, and then he almost laid an egg against the Brewers in the wild card game. So I'd like to see him get one more opportunity, and also see if Zach Greinke can overcome his demons, because he's not been great in the postseason at all. We know he deals with a condition in an anxiety that you would never wish on anybody. But let's see if he can overcome that when the light is shining brightest on him and pressure is on him. Game 7, those are the best 2 words in all of sports. And hopefully Wednesday night, I'm sitting there on my couch watching a Game 7 of this World Series. And these 2 teams grind it out, battle it out to the very bitter end. All right, going to take another break here. Come back. We'll get back to football, go through some of the things that went down here in Week 8, the good, the bad, the ugly, and why one person in the media needs to stop pissing me off. Continue keeping it sports with M3.
I'll be back.
It's been 48 years Connecticut School of Broadcasting has helped place thousands of people, just like you, in exciting careers in radio, television, and the new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, our hands-on approach is different. It's designed to have you spend less time in the classroom and more time in the studios. From the first day, you'll work with state-of-the-art equipment. Learn by doing from our team of industry professionals who come from their studios to ours. The best part about it, you'll learn it all in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. So do what I did. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO. Step into the fast-paced world of the broadcast media. Day and evening classes begin soon. Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Get trained and get connected now. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com.
Now, I mentioned a moment ago about someone in the media pissing me off. Someone in the media, really getting on my last nerves. And that one person would happen to be ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter, who most of the time I have a great deal of respect for his work. I appreciate the work that him and Chris Mortensen do as insiders for the NFL. They, bring it. They come at you with the news before anyone else gets it. I mean, the only one that somewhat comes close to them is NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. But for the last week, Schefter's been pissing me off with this rhetoric, this story that has almost taken the NFL by storm of, oh, will this be Tom Brady's last year in New England? Saying that him remaining in New England this offseason is the least likely option to happen for him. Whether he retires, goes plays for another team. Of all options he has this offseason, that's the least likely thing to happen. He's been speculating on this based on the fact that Brady sold his house up in Massachusetts, or is about to. His trainer, the head of the TB12 program, sold his house as well. And Tom's contract can be up at the end of this year. I'm not buying it. All right? I am not for 1 second going to climb out onto that ledge and believe Tom Brady in New England's time is over story. All right. And as I said, Schefter, I usually consider him a credible source. Although you look at his last couple of things he's brought up, like when he brought up the idea of Condoleezza Rice possibly being an option for either the general manager or head coaching spot of the Cleveland Browns, or when he brought up last year that the referees in the NFC title game were trying to screw the Saints just because they were all from California. I mean, please. And everybody, it seems like everybody wants to be out on front on, when is Brady's career going to be over, or when is he going to go somewhere else? I'm not buying it. I need to see it to believe it. And I know there are plenty of places he could go if he leaves the Patriots. No, the Bears look like an option because, God, Trubisky's awful. The Titans could be an option there, with his former teammate Mike Vrabel as the head coach. Maybe he wants to live the LA lifestyle and goes and plays for the Chargers next year due to the fact that Phillip Rivers' contract is over. And I think Phillip, for his career, needs a change of scenery because the Chargers have done wrong by him all these years. But other than that, until we actually see this happen, why are we creating a story? A story that will get fans of the Bills, Jets, Dolphins all excited because, finally, half of the evil demon that is hung over the AFC East is gone. Finally, Mr. Perfect, finally, Mr. Pretty Boy Brady, arguably, and I would say unarguably, the greatest quarterback of all time is no longer in our division. I'm not buying it. So I just wish this story would go away. If it happens to happen this offseason, I'll apologize. I'll come on here and be like, you know what, Schefter, you were right. But until then, why bring up something that hasn't even happened yet? Why speculate on something when maybe it's all just by pure coincidence that his contract is up and he is selling his house up in Massachusetts at the same time? And it makes no sense to me. All right, let's go through some of these games in the rest of Week 8. Wasn't able to watch most of them, and I was still down in dumps with the Jets, but was able to get a bit of a feel with what went on in the league this week. We had another London game, just what we all really need, where the Rams made it two in a row by getting healthy against the Bengals, and really that's all you need this year. The Rams were in a bit of a slide there for a little bit, but all they needed to do was back-to-back weeks go up against the Falcons and then the Bengals, and they got their offense back into gear, especially with Cooper Kupp having a career day. And the first half numbers he had were just insanity. 5 for 60, 165 yards. Thought maybe there was a chance he could break Calvin Johnson's record for most receiving yards in one game. It just insane, but everybody's going to have great days against the Bengals. I was surprised to see Drew Brees come back yesterday, not because of the opponent, because even with Teddy Bridgewater, they could have beaten the Cardinals rather easily. But I was surprised based off the fact that next week's their bye. I thought maybe they want to take it easy with Drew, not rush him back. This was a back and forth game early on, but in the third quarter, Cliff Kingsbury made what I thought was a real dumb move when they're down 10-6. It's fourth and one on their own 30-yard line, and he decides to go for it. And when they were unable to convert the fourth down, that was pretty much game there for the Cardinals, because that Saints defense took no prisoners yesterday. They weren't able to run the ball well, especially with the injuries. Now they have a running back with not just David Johnson, but also now Chase Edmond, and just an all-around bad game for the Cardinals offensively, and doesn't get any easier for them this week when they have a short week and they play at home on Thursday Night Football against the 49ers, who the 49ers are taking no prisoners. The 49ers, I don't consider them the best team in the NFC just based, even though they're undefeated, I don't consider them the best just based off the way the Packers and the Saints are playing. But my God, their defense was able to do what no one's done all year, and that's calm down Kyle Allen, give him his first loss as a starter for the Panthers. They had forced 3 interceptions on the day, all 2 of the 3 coming in their own territory. Their defense was explosive once again. Another 3 sacks by Bosa, who is quickly running away with the Defensive Rookie of the Year award with how good of a start that he's gotten off to. And, once again, another easy day for Jimmy Garoppolo, where all he had to do was not screw up. They basically had to look at him and say, hey, you see what Kyle Allen's doing over there? See all the mistakes he's making? Just don't do that, and we'll carry the rest of the day for you. And, he didn't have to do much because he got the ball a couple times in his own territory thanks to a bunch of Panthers turnovers, and they won this game relatively easy. thank you very much to Adam Vinatieri for his game-winning 51-yard field goal yesterday. I say that not because I was glad he made up for some earlier mistakes and missing a field goal, missing a point after, but I took the Colts in the survivor pool this week. So a little bit nervous there going into the fourth quarter, watching them down 13-12 at home to the Broncos, thinking, oh, gosh, did I make a mistake here? But, hey, Vic Fangio made the mistake by calling a draw play on 4th and 5 from midfield. Now, in one stance, you could say, if you're a Broncos fan, who the hell is Joe Flacco to be calling out the coaching staff for that play calling at midfield when he was saying, we were playing scared, playing not to lose rather than playing to win by punting the ball there. And I can understand where a Bronco fan could get annoyed at him for saying that. But he's right. When you're a team that was 2-5 coming in, now 2-6, you have a shot to win the game, do that. Play to win the game. Where are you going? You're not going to the postseason. The only place you're going to is the top 5 to 10 spots in the NFL draft. So take a shot there. Go for 4th down at midfield. If you mess up, you give them good field position for the field goal, say, oh, well, we gave ourselves a shot to win the game. Rather than playing scared and relying on your defense to get one stop, and a defense that made a crucial error at a crucial time with the horse collar penalty by A.J. Johnson and wound up coming back to biting you. And talking about mistakes here, we criticize head coaches, we criticize players for the mistakes they make. This is once again another reason why the referees need to talk after the game, not just to one pool reporter, but to the media. Because what they did in the Titans-Bucks game yesterday was criminal, was just ridiculous. Midway through the fourth quarter, you got a 27-23 game, kind of back and forth throughout the day. Tannehill's playing pretty well. Jameis Winston was able to overcome an early interception to have a pretty good game. The Titans decided to get a little bit cute and run a fake field goal attempt midway through the fourth quarter. And they're running the ball with holder Brett Kern. He fumbles the ball on a hit by Devin White. Adams of the Bucks recovers it, is looking like he's taking it back for a clear touchdown. But no, wait, stop everything. The officials decide, nope, that was not a fumble. That was a clear example of forward progress ending, and we got to keep the play going. So we got to call the play right there. So they blow the play dead right there and cost the Buccaneers a touchdown. And the Bucs were never able to get going once again after that. They had a chance in the red zone late, but Jameis Winston, or they had a chance to come down and score late, but Jameis Winston, with about 30 seconds left, throws his second interception of the game. And the referees, they screwed the Buccaneers out of winning a game that was very easyable, or obtainable, should I say. Easyable is not a real word, kids, if you're listening. Don't listen to Uncle M3 here when it comes to your vocabulary, because that was not one of my strong suits in school. But it was a game that the Bucs clearly could have won and flat out got screwed out of by the officials, once again making a boneheaded call. I'll tell you, they're too much part of the game. All right, these officials, they want to act like they're the third team on the field, but don't have to answer for their actions later on. Seahawks win against the Falcons, 27-20. Got a little hairy there late in the game, but managed to hold the lead. The Falcons playing without Matt Ryan. Had to go with Schaub yesterday due to Matt Ryan's right ankle injury from the week before against the LA Rams. And Schaub, well, you look at it on paper, 39 for 52, 460 yards, and those numbers fine. He had 2 fumbles that cost them dearly early in the game, both in Seattle territory. And now when you have that many fumbles against a good opponent, you're not going to be able to, or give a good opponent, should I say, that many opportunities. You have only yourself to blame in the end when you come up short late in the day. Maybe the most important win of the day yesterday is the Eagles over the Bills up in Buffalo, 31-13. I said because the Eagles, after getting off to a strong start, had lost 2 in a row here. It's starting to wonder where their season was going here after losing back-to-back games to the Cowboys and the Vikings. Well, they took control of the game yesterday, ran the ball right down that Bills defense's throat for 218 yards, had the ball for 36 minutes yesterday, got right back in within a half game of the Cowboys in the division, with the Cowboys on a bye this week. Here was another questionable decision by a coaching staff. Chargers, Bears. The Bears, they seem to have control of this game early on. They led 16-10 early in the fourth quarter, but Mitchell Trubisky and his being turnover prone cost them once again now with an interception and a fumble loss in the fourth quarter at a time where it looked like, maybe they're starting to take control of this game. Their defense had played great up until this point. They had only allowed 200 yards on the game, was able to keep Melvin Gordon and company in check, had four sacks on Rivers, got some good pressure on him, but Trubisky turned out to cost them in the end with these turnovers in scoring opportunities. And their head coach, I don't understand what the hell Matt Nagy was doing. Late in this game, they're down 17-16. They got the ball, 43 seconds left to go. First down on the Chargers' 21-yard line. Chargers had used all of their timeouts at this point. The Bears still had one timeout left. And Nagy decides, instead of, let's run the ball here a little bit with David Montgomery, let me have Trubisky take a knee. I'll wind the clock all the way down to 4 seconds and have Eddie Pinheiro go for a 41-yard field goal, even though he missed a 33-yard field goal early in the game. Now that come back to bite him because the ball would veer left, even though in the air it looked like it was going right down the middle. And probably because of those yards he lost on the taking knee, that cost them the game-winning field goal. And just a stupid decision, especially when your running back had ran for over 130 yards yesterday. He was averaging 5 yards a clip. Give him the ball, run up the middle, gain some yards there. It's one thing you don't trust Trubisky, and if you don't trust him, you go with Chase Daniel as your quarterback because he played better in the one game he's played this year than Trubisky's played all year when healthy. Give your running back the ball. Give him a chance to give Pinheiro a better field goal opportunity in that spot. And it just goes. It's not just goes back to a bad coaching decision here. Not trusting your quarterback, and why would you? But this organization. Remember, 3 years ago when they drafted Trubisky, they traded up from 3 to 2 to get him in that draft. Remember who else they could have had? They could have had Patrick Mahomes. They could have had Deshaun Watson, who all he did yesterday was lead the Texans in a late fourth quarter comeback as he's getting kicked in the face by a down defender. Now, the Texans did victory did come with a price, losing J.J. Watt in the third quarter and losing him for the rest of the year with a torn pectoral muscle. But the Bears, they could have had that as their starting quarterback. They could have had Patrick Mahomes. But instead, 1 year at North Carolina and a good workout at the scouting combine, that's what led them to drafting Mitchell Trubisky. And after this year, if they're smart, they should move on. They should move on to either, signing Phillip Rivers as a free agent. Maybe Tom Brady looks at that as an option if he doesn't re-sign with New England, wants to move on. Go into the Windy City. Teddy Bridgewater will be out there, and he's grown his value. But the Bears, you don't want to waste years of this defense's career. You have a great defense here, and you wasted a great performance by them yesterday by the poor play of your quarterback. Patriots win yesterday, remain undefeated. The 300th win for Bill Belichick in his career. Very airy, how it's coming full story here. The fact that he got his first victory as a head coach with the Cleveland Browns against the New England Patriots, and he gets his 300th victory against his original team. Kind of a weird circumstance there, but the Browns, they gave this game early on to the Patriots. They committed 3 turnovers in the first quarter, back-to-back drives with fumbles by Chubb, and then the interception by Baker Mayfield to Lawrence Guy in Cleveland territory. Just awful day all around offensively for the Cleveland Browns. And you wonder, how does Freddie Kitchens survive this? How does Freddie Kitchens, a guy that was never an offensive coordinator before this year, survive a quarterback that's taken some steps back, and offensive weapons like Odell Beckham that are constantly dropping the ball, a defense that isn't as good as you thought it was? It's a mess there in Cleveland. And remember, coming into this year, that was a team that was number 3 overall in Vegas as far as odds to get to the Super Bowl out of the AFC, behind the Chiefs and the Patriots. And now, listen, I give the Chiefs credit last night for battling the Packers, but hey, you ran into Rodgers on another great night. You ran into him on a night where you couldn't take advantage of the fact that both Za'Darius and Preston Smith were seemingly on and off the field with injuries throughout the night. Matt Moore gave you a shot to win the game, but your defense couldn't get a stop when you needed it to. And I thought the big mistake that Andy Reid made was 5 minutes ago. It's 4th and 1 or 4th and 3 from his own 43-yard line. And they punt the ball back to the Packers. Never saw the ball again. Never got another opportunity. It's one, as I said earlier, one thing if you fail on the 4th down conversion, but to just give the ball back to Rodgers when you know how great he is, how methodical he is with winding down a clock, not one of Andy Reid's finer moments. But hey, as good a coach as he's been, we know clock management has not been his strong suit over the years. All right, I'm going to take one last break here, come back on the other side, close things up with some thoughts on the NBA from the first week of the season. Continue keeping it sports with M3.
I'll be back.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting founder Dick Robinson.
You know, the media business has changed a lot since we opened our doors in 1964. Now media content is everywhere, on air, online, on the go. More than ever, companies are looking for people to help drive this new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, you'll get hands-on training on the latest software and equipment in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has placed thousands of grads in broadcast media careers.
It's all about versatility. You see, at a radio station, if you also know how to shoot, edit, and post videos, you become a pretty hot commodity. That's the training you get at Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting with locations up and down the East Coast from Massachusetts to Miami. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Connecticut School of Broadcasting, the nation's oldest and largest group of broadcast media schools, redefining training in radio, TV, and new media. Get trained. Get connected. 1-800-TV-RADIO.
Welcome back to Keeping the Sports Run-Free. Only a couple more minutes left here. Let's finish up with some thoughts on the NBA, which season got underway last week. The one downer about the start of the season was the news that came out on Monday about Zion Williamson. The fact that, we knew he was having the procedure done on his knee, but now it sounds like he's going to miss about 2 months. It sounds like we may not see him until around Christmas time. And I was looking forward to seeing what this kid was going to do in his rookie year, seeing how he would adjust to the NBA. I still think he's going to be a really good player, but the problem with him is you look at this, how he's built. He's 6'8" and about 290 pounds. He's probably about 20 to 25 pounds too big. And when I say too big, I'm not, saying he's fat or trying to fat shame or anything. I'm just saying he's carrying around a lot of weight for a guy his size. It'd be one thing if he was, 7'1", 7'2", and he was 290 pounds, but he's 6'8". I mean, even LeBron James is not that big. And that's how LeBron has been able to be so durable over the course of his career, so strong and not have that major debilitating injury. So I'm hopeful for Zion's sake that once he gets on a good nutrition plan here and has a good fitness plan, because he's going to easily burn calories during the season with how many minutes he plays during the game. Once he gets going, that he'll be able to get in a game shape that at his size won't cause any more future injuries. I mean, the only ones that might be more disappointed than Pelican fans and NBA fans in general has got to be the TV providers. The fact between NBA TV, TNT, and ESPN, you realize that the Pelicans were set to be on national television 17 times in their first 35 games. And in all likelihood, Zion Williamson is not going to play in any of those games because they're not going to rush him back. They're going to take their time and be very easy and make sure they ease him back into the mix of things. And they were planning a big opening night. You have the Pelicans, a hot young team with the number 1 overall draft pick, playing the world champion Raptors, followed by Lakers Clippers at the Staples Center. Raptors got their rings that night. Problem I have with the Raptors and their ring celebration, you go back and watch the highlight reel of them winning their championship. Kawhi, unless I missed something, Kawhi Leonard is not featured in that video package. Come on. I know you're upset he didn't re-sign with you this offseason, but the Raptors would not have their first championship in franchise history without the work that man did there last year, right? He was the best player in the league last year in the limited games he played, but he saved himself up for the postseason, and there was no one more clutch. There was no one more hungry, more determined in that postseason than Kawhi Leonard. He carried you to a championship at times where there were games in that postseason, let's not forget, where Siakam disappeared, where Kyle Lowry disappeared, and it was essentially Kawhi or bust. So show the guy a little bit of respect and acknowledge him during your championship celebration. I know he couldn't have been there due to the fact that his team was playing on the West Coast right after you guys, but show some respect for a guy that is the main reason you're finally champions after all these years. And, I was surprised that they put Clippers-Lakers on opening night, because opening night sells itself. Basketball fans everywhere are excited, looking forward to the season getting going again. I thought to myself, why waste Lakers-Clippers, which should be a fantastic rivalry this year, on the opening night of the season? And, the one takeaway you have from this game is the overall depth advantage that the Clippers have over the Lakers. Because, you look at these two teams, right now the Lakers missing some pieces without Kuzma. He's still coming off of an injury. It's essentially LeBron, AD, and a bunch of guys there. I mean, you're going to be relying on the likes of JaVale McGee and Jared Dudley and Caldwell Pope to be the guys that can help carry on when either LeBron or AD are not on the court together. Yet, when you look at the Clippers, they're able to go to Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams off the bench. So, the Lakers, as this year goes along, because as we know, there's always that nagging injury that AD has during the year, or LeBron maybe misses 2 or 3 games in a row over. You're going to need Kuzma back healthy, and you're going to need to add some pieces to this team, because you traded all of your depth away just to get this pairing together, and now you're being burned by it just a little bit here. So, I'm going to be interested to see how the Battle of LA goes as the season goes along. I do believe that one of them is going to be that ultimate destination for whenever the Memphis Grizzlies decide to stop being stubborn and buy out Andre Iguodala. I'm just not sure right now which one of them is going to be that team, because he clearly wants to go to LA. He's just right now locked in a situation that he doesn't want to be in. Now, another situation I'm going to be looking out for as this season goes along, and I know these guys are great friends. I know they wanted to play together, but I'm going to be very intrigued as this year goes along how Russell Westbrook and James Harden adjust to playing together. Because I can't tell you that I was watching a lot of Rockets preseason basketball, but from everything I've read and heard about this, it felt like James Harden dominated the action most of the time. Russell Westbrook was standing off into the corner waiting, wondering, is it my turn to control the action here? And Harden was essentially ignoring him and treating him like a third option, like as if he was Gerald Green or something. That's the actual comparison I saw some reporter about the Rockets posts on Twitter. So how are these two going to make it work? Because these are both ball-dominant guards. See, when you had Harden and CP3 together, CP3 was more of just a floor general, a guy that makes sure everyone's in the right spot. He did not need the basketball in his hands all the time like James Harden does. James Harden, when he doesn't have the basketball in his hands, is seemingly useless. He kind of stands around, and Westbrook, is built of the same mold. You have two starting point guards where only one can be Batman, and neither one of them want to be Robin. So, Mike D'Antoni, in the last year of his contract, he's going to have his work cut out for him to see how he can get these two guys to adjust to each other. Now, for the two local teams, I'm not going to freak out too much because it's the first week of an 82-game season. So, when it comes to the Knicks, not expected to be a winning team this year, not expected to have a great season. I do think they should be better than their winning 17 games last year. That they need to show some improvement there. They added some veterans to add some grit, add some toughness onto that team with Morris and Portis. But they need to have these young kids grow and develop, like Kevin Knox, like you got to see Mitchell Robinson continue to develop because he was a pleasant surprise for this team last year. I also need to see how the point guard situation is going to turn out because in the preseason they had a competition between Alfred Payton, between Dennis Smith Jr. and Frank Ntilikina for the starting point guard job. And you come into it opening night, RJ Barrett is the starting point guard. And this is not a knock against RJ Barrett. The kid's played well so far. That's the number one focus of this season, watching this kid develop. But starting him at point guard when it's a position that he never did in college and he wasn't in the competition for in the preseason, I had no problem with them starting him right away. But put one of the other guys that you're having in the actual point guard competition start. I mean, what does that say about Dennis Smith Jr. if he can't, get that job? A guy that was supposed to be the main piece you got back for Kristaps Porzingis in that trade last February, or the continued bust it looks like Frank Ntilikina has been and wasted draft pick by Phil Jackson. One of those guys, it looks like they've settled on Alfred Payton, but one of those guys had to be your starting point guard, not your rookie who you're trying to ease into the league slowly. And as some of you may know, I'm a Brooklyn Net fan. Was excited coming into this season, but I'm not going to get all nuts and crazy about them being off to a 1-2 start, losing in overtime to the Timberwolves, blowing a late lead to the Knicks before going on an 8-0 run in the last minute and a half to win that game, and then losing a overtime game to the Grizzlies yesterday. That game was really a game they never should have been in position to win. They were down by double digits twice throughout the game. When Ja Morant went out early in the fourth quarter, they took an 8-point lead and blew that in the last 3 minutes. Had a chance to win it in overtime, but Spencer Dinwiddie misses the second of 2 foul shots and gave an opportunity to Jay Crowder, of all people, to make a walk-off three-pointer for the win there. So I'm not going to get nuts about it. It's first week of the season. There hasn't been any injury, anything that could set this team back. My main thing is, let's look at this team after 20 games. All right? I think that's fair to say. Let's look at how Brooklyn's doing after the first 20 games, because it's not as if you're bringing the same unit back as last year. You're bringing in a team that, let's face it, half these guys were on different rosters last year. You were as active as any team in free agency this offseason in adding Kyrie Irving, in adding Gary Temple. You bring in Wilson Chandler, who's suspended for the first portion of the season. You bring in Taurean Prince through a trade with the Hawks. You signed DeAndre Jordan to add some toughness as your backup center there. So you got a lot of pieces, a lot of guys that are new to this team, a lot that you got to have them get used to playing together, get what kind of rotation, have Kenny Atkinson figure out what kind of rotation is he going to do with his 10 to 12-man rotation there. What kind of minutes does he limit Kyrie Irving to with his injuries in the past? So, after 20 games, once they get through that and kind of build the chemistry, get in a correct rotation, we'll look back and then we'll see what kind of team they are. But for right now, it's way too early for me to be freaking out about losses to the Timberwolves and the Memphis Grizzlies, even on nights when Kyrie Irving scores 50 against the T-Wolves and they lose on a missed shot at the buzzer, and you're missing some late key foul shots, and Jay Crowder hits a walk-off 3 against you in Memphis. Sucks, but it's still only 3 games into the season. Still a long way to go. And that, my friends, is Keeping It Sports with M3 for Monday, October 28th, 2019. Everyone, have a great night, and I'll talk to you guys again same time next week. Peace.
We have to go. Good night, everybody.
I have had enough of you!